In the air to right field. Way back there. Fair, foul.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of Fair or Foul here on WTBU Sports. I'm Daniel Maltz.
I'm Jacob Lintner.
I'm Ben Silver.
And we are very happy to have you back. A little bit of a break in between episodes, but don't you worry, we got plenty to get through today. Today, we are previewing the 2019 MLB playoffs. We got less than a week to go before the regular season ends, and the last few playoff spots are being locked up as we speak.
Yeah, everything's sort of falling into place finally after a bit of a chaotic last month, especially in the NL. Teams rising, teams falling. The Phillies, I hate the Phillies. It's chaos, and it's finally settling into place, and it'll be really interesting to see how these teams end up, especially after the wild card games.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need to make an edit point right there, just so I can keep Ben saying I hate the Phillies on loop.
Yeah, I don't even know. I love the Phillies, but I hate being a fan of the Phillies. I'm proud to be a fan of the Phillies. I love the Phillies with all my heart. I wish I didn't have to be a fan of the Phillies.
You don't have to be a fan of the Phillies.
Yeah, I'm like,
No, but I do
You
have
bandwagoned the Red Sox last October, so why not commit to it?
I've been a Red Sox fan my whole life. They're just my mistress team.
Mistress team?
I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
I don't like the sound of that at all.
I don't. It's just they've always been the team. They're my AL team. I watch like 4 or 5 games a year. I watch all their playoff games. I'll sort of half-heartedly root for them. It's like, yeah, good. The Red Sox did well. The Red Sox won the World Series. Cool, But I'm a Phillies fan at heart, and the Red Sox. That's one of the reasons I'm in Boston. I love Fenway Park, and I wanted to be close to the Red Sox. I wanted to be near a baseball team that I liked. So
Your two baseball teams are both in real bad places right now.
I don't really care enough. Especially after all the success the Red Sox have and the success of other Boston teams, it makes it a lot harder for me to be a Red Sox fan. It's a lot of fun rooting for the underdog, and that was originally why my family rooted for the Red Sox, because they were underdogs, because, they went 86 years without winning a World Series.
Yeah, but since 2004, they've been anything but.
I know, but my family's were Red Sox fans for 30 years before 2004.
I got you.
I understand that.
And the Phillies have always been the main team.
In your lifetime, they haven't been an underdog.
Yeah, in my lifetime. I was technically a Red Sox fan before 2004.
I know.
I watched that.
You were 3 years old.
No, I was 5 years old.
He's 99.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like before 2000.
No, but listen.
According to my dad, I did watch the ALCS that year.
He knew Pedro Martinez's ERA plus when he was 2 years old.
I
wouldn't doubt that.
I did.
His first words were his ERA plus.
I was born. Pedro Martinez, ERA 290, ERA plus 297, and knew it immediately. I was born with it. Intuition.
Ridiculous.
Instinct.
He's got the genetic trait for
Is it
stats.
297? I want to see if I got that right. That would be 1999 before I.
His ERA in 99 was under 2.
Yeah, I know, but his ERA plus I believe was 290. Oh, no, not quite. It was 243 in 99. In 2000, it was 291.
For shame.
291 is just crazy though, and in 99 he had a FIP of 1.39. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I know. It was the best pitching season of this century, and it's never going to get topped.
Yeah, sadly. Well, also because it was in the steroid era, which, no, the thing is, the crazy thing about, I always forget it, whether it's his 99 season or his 2000 season. One of those seasons, I'm going to go with his 2000 season right now, in which he had a 1.74 ERA. The second
2000.
best. Sorry, what'd you say?
That was 2000.
2000. Oh, yeah, here we go. Second best pitcher in 2000, ERA-wise. Number 1, Pedro Martinez, 1.74. Number 2, Roger Clemens, 3.70. Literally a difference of 2 runs.
I didn't
2
realize it
whole
was
runs.
that big, yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah. No, the league average ERA that year was like 5.7.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Juice. OJ.
Anyway, so playoffs, they're coming real soon, and let's start in the National League. National League is always a lot more fun to talk about because you never know what's going on, and there's a lot more interesting stuff to talk about. Let's start with the team that's kind of being seen as the heavyweight in this league, the LA Dodgers. I think what way we'll go about this, biggest strength and biggest concern for each of these teams heading into the playoffs. And you look at the Dodgers, their biggest strength is their lineup and their offense, without question. What they've done this year in terms of scoring runs for a National League team is absolutely absurd.
Mm-hmm. Clearly it's their offense. They really don't have any holes. I guess Kike Hernandez, but I wouldn't consider him a hole just because he's so versatile. He's more of a stopgap than anything. I'm sure Austin Barnes, but then you have Will Smith, who's torn the cover off the
Austin Barnes
ball.
is not catching for them. Will Smith's been their starting catcher.
Yeah,
for
that's
the
what I'm
last 2
saying.
months.
But okay, but
I don't even know why he's listed as their starting catcher.
yeah, but because he has more at bats. But Will Smith has, of course, torn the cover off the ball since he's come up. But he is a rookie. You don't know
Yeah,
how.
he's hitting 238.
Yeah, come on, batting average, Moltzy. But I don't
Either
know.
way.
Yeah,
No, but
great catcher so far.
the worst part about the Dodgers is that you guys say that their strength is easily their offense, but they've still got the lowest average against, the lowest WHIP, third most strikeouts, and the lowest ERA in the National League. Their starting rotation just insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're like 7th or 8th or maybe even 9th starter, going all the way down to Stripling, Urias. I mean, Tony Gonsolin, like who is
Gonsolin.
He'd probably be like the 2 starter on the Phillies. I hate to bring it back to the Phillies again because I know it makes
you don't hate to do that.
No, but
Don't
I know how
apologize.
angry it makes you, Moltzy.
It doesn't.
But
It doesn't make me angry.
well, not angry. That's not the right word. How does it make you feel, Moltzy?
Come back to me.
Okay, sure. But
I got to think about the right word to use here.
yeah, but I mean, it's the thing is they've got such great rotation depth. Their issue, though, their big number one issue is their bullpen. I mean, and especially Kenley Jansen with 8 blown saves on the year. He's really, I don't know. This is his first season where we've really seen him struggle. You know, he wasn't great last year, but he still was a solid closer. And you don't want a 3.84 ERA out of your closer. You don't want 2.4 walks per 9 innings. I mean, Kenley Jansen, I believe his career strikeout per 9, he's something like 13 or 14. Let's see if I got that right. Yeah, 13.3, and this year it's 11.4.
That's still great.
It's still good, but for a closer, and especially a closer on the Dodgers, I would want better. I mean, you
You don't need strikeouts to get people out in baseball.
No, you don't. But it's as a closer, you know, it's not a problem if his ERA is low, but his ERA is high, and he's not striking out people that like he used to, and he's walking people more than he used to, and it's just I don't know. He's not a bad pitcher, but he's not a good closer. I wouldn't want him to be my closer were I the Dodgers. I would want, I don't know, maybe we throw Julio Urias out there if he's not going to start a postseason game. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm sure
You want Urias, who's got a higher walk rate and lower strikeout rate than Kenley.
Yes, but he's got a better ERA, almost a better FIP.
Oh,
I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Their FIPs. I'm getting statisticky over
yeah,
here.
well, it's not
Oh.
enough.
Their
I don't
FIPs
even.
are just about the same, and so are their whips.
Yeah, FIP is it's not enough innings. Even for me, that's a stretch. But he does
Even
have 4
for
saves
you.
on the year. It does seem like they're trying him out there a little bit.
Well, because the Dodgers, I mean, the way I don't like the reason I put their offense as a strength is because a lot of these starting pitchers have either had bad performances in the postseason, have had bad second halves, or are just unproven in the postseason. Clayton Kershaw, he's, you know, you don't need to say anything about him. Saying his name and the postseason in the same sentence, you know where you're going with it.
I think he gets a little bit too much of a bad rap.
No, he doesn't. He's blown.
No.
He's blown it. He's had plenty of good moments for the Dodgers, but he's also had a large share of their bad moments.
No, for
in
sure.
Listen, the Dodgers have had him as their number 1 or number 2 starting pitcher for the last 7 years, where they've made it to the playoffs. When you have especially in the earlier years when he was still in his prime, Clayton Kershaw's got to be the one winning you those games, not losing them for you. But anyway, Kershaw is wildly inconsistent in the postseason. Every one good game comes with 3 bad ones. Hyunjin Ryu has had a really bad second half by comparison to his first half.
By comparison,
and
the
what-
operative word there.
Well, because what especially concerns me is he's certainly started to turn it around in September, but he had an awful month of August where he put up his worst start of the season against the team he might be facing in the World Series, in the Yankees. Gave up 7 runs or something. Walker Buehler is the only guy I would necessarily, and I don't want to really say trust, because yes, he was brilliant in Game 3 of the World Series, but before that, in the division series, when he was pitching against the Braves, you know, he coughed up, I think, 4 or 5 runs to them.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenta Maeda is going to pitch out of the bullpen for them because they've never used him out of the rotation. And Rich Hill's a mummy. So I don't really...
Is Rich Hill healthy enough to start?
He's not... No. What's probably going to happen for them is they'll go some order of Buehler, Ryu, and Kershaw, and then they'll probably fire a bullpen game. They'll use Hill for a couple of innings, Maeda, Urias, Stripling, Gonsolin, all those guys.
I wonder if Gonsolin will make the roster even.
He'll make the roster.
Yeah,
Oh, and Dustin May, of course.
Dustin May probably won't.
Well, I mean, I think he'll make the postseason roster. I don't think he's going to start though.
If he's you can only have so many guys on your team, to make a postseason pitching staff. I don't think he's going to make it.
I would put him on there just for his talent level, if anything. I mean, he's a good pitcher.
He's pitched 30 innings in the majors. What are you talking about?
I know, but okay, he looks like a good pitcher. I mean, obviously, I don't mean to go all stats and then all old-timey stuff, but I think from what I've seen of him, which has been minimal, I'm not gonna lie, he looks like he's got a good fastball. He looks like a good pitcher.
Anybody can make it to the majors with a good fastball.
And he's
it's
a top.
It's the rest of your repertoire.
I know. He's a top prospect though. I from what I've heard and the small amount of him that I've seen, he seemed like a good pitcher, and it seems like the Dodgers are high on him.
Oh yeah. I would.
Ooh, nice one.
That was cute. No, but I don't know. Just kind of play devil's advocate with you, Multi. If you've still got Walker Buehler, Hyunjin Ryu, and Clayton Kershaw, it doesn't matter what order those three guys start. You don't need an ace in that situation because you've got three of them right there.
Yeah.
Even if, say, Clayton Kershaw is your number one guy, let's hypothetically they put him out first. Then having Walker Buehler and Hyunjin Ryu as your 2 and 3. Who's going to be able to hit off that?
The Yankees.
Well, okay. Outside the Yankees, they're going to have
I'm only so strongly against this because I know it's regular season and I know it may mean absolutely nothing. But when the Yankees played the Dodgers, something that everybody is saying is a very likely World Series preview, the 2 games that the Yankees won in that series were the games where they played Ryu and Kershaw. I think they teed off for 5 or 6 home runs off those 2 guys. By comparison to the quality of pitchers that they are, they beat them senseless. So I'm just thinking that in terms of the long run, if you want to make a deep playoff run, LA, and this is now we're really in the hypotheticals, but if it's going to be Dodgers-Yankees, the Dodgers need that lineup to come through because that lineup can do a lot more damage than their pitching. Against the Yankees. Mm-hmm. That's only if it's the Yankees. We could be talking a whole other situation for our next episode, which will probably come neck deep in the playoffs, where we can talk about, what's going to happen from there.
I'm sorry to bump in here, but I may have discovered a conspiracy while looking at Dustin May and Clayton Kershaw, but I do believe, according to their baseball reference pictures, that they are the same person. There's not really a way to display this over. Do any of you guys hear that? It's like a bass. Well, maybe you picked that up there for a second, but
what was that?
I have no idea. If for those of you, if you noticed or if you didn't, I'm not really sure if you could hear over that. But there was a really loud bass coming from
I think
somewhere.
It's probably the TV studio right next to us.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Dustin May and Clayton Kershaw, same person. You can't display this over a podcast, but Jacob Multi, look at this. Dustin May's picture right here. It looks like Dustin May. Look at Kershaw. They have the same face.
They look nothing alike.
They look nothing alike.
Okay, their hair is different, their face shape is different, but the face, the mouth, the nose, the eyes, the brow, just the way it's the same. It's the same, not the same head, the same face.
Hear me out here. The hair is different, the face is different, the eyes are different, the nose is different, the mouth is different, but they look the same. Trust Ben here on this one.
You had
this is right up. This is right up there with your ridiculous takes. They look nothing alike. What are you talking about?
That area between like the eyes and like the lower mouth is exactly. You know what? Here for next episode, I will Photoshop Dustin May's face onto Clayton Kershaw, and I will make that the thumbnail or something, and I'll put that at this point, and I will prove to you they do look the same.
Okay. You know what? We're gonna have to agree to disagree here.
Yeah,
you're down 2-1 on this. They look nothing alike. For anybody who is interested in checking this out while you're listening to us, help us prove Ben wrong. They look.
Don't worry. I will prove you right in the podcast if I have time to do it, which is a maybe. I will Photoshop their faces onto each other.
I don't even want to continue talking about this. This is ridiculous.
Nah, I'm done with the Dodgers.
They look absolutely nothing alike. Let's hop over to the NL Central, where we're going to talk about Jacob's favorite team and probably his 2 least favorite teams as well. But let's start on the high note. Let's talk about those Cardinals. They've clinched a playoff berth. They're not NL Central champions yet because the Milwaukee Brewers are playing out of their minds in September and refuse to go down quietly. The Brewers are probably a lock to make the wild card game again. Again, did they make it last year? No, they won the Central last
No.
year. My bad.
Yeah.
The Cubs made it last year.
Yeah, there was that whole like playoff thing.
Yeah.
Where that was cool. There was the whole hug
playoff
gate.
thing.
You guys remember hug gate for like 2 days?
Hug gate?
Where Nolan Arenado and I think it was like Javi Baez like hugged in that Rockies Cubs game.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
it's showing. You know, it's showing respect.
Oh, I just thought it was kind of funny. You know, it's just I don't know. There was
I don't know
such
what
a
to
big
think with
thing
you
there.
anymore. You think Dustin May and Clayton Kershaw
Yeah,
look alike?
Because they do.
We got to get Ben off the podcast. But
Anyway, we'll settle that one when the
I'll
mics.
start a better podcast.
When the ooh,
a rival podcast.
is that a challenge?
Maybe it is.
All right, Cardinals. I like them because I think that they've got the perfect combination of young and veteran pitching on there. For the Cardinals, for me at least. I'd love to hear what you think, Jacob. For me, it's the exact opposite as the Dodgers. The St. Louis Cardinals are going to rightfully need to rely on their pitching a whole lot more than their hitting to get them through to the playoffs. The Cardinals can hit. They're a solid offensive team, but their pitching staff is way better than their pitching staff.
oh yeah.
Did I just say pitching is better than I did?
You
did
Their
say
pitching
that,
staff
but-
is way better than their hitting.
Oh yeah, we understood what you mean.
Mhm.
And I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, we've seen what's going on this season. If anybody saw the game last night, that was September 24th for everybody, or September 24th and the 25th,
And the 25th.
because it was a 7-hour game
Nice.
between the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. Went 19 innings, longest game by innings or time in Chase Field. Jack Flaherty took a no-hitter in the 7th inning. He struck out 11 guys in 7 innings. I think he only walked 2 his time out there. Had himself another gem. Lowered his ERA to .97 in the second half. Just incredible numbers for this young guy. But the offense just couldn't do anything. The only runs they scored were 2 solo homers. One in the first 9 innings, and then once I think the 13th or 14th, sometime in extras, and ended up losing the game 3-2 in 19 innings.
Here's my I guess I could say favorite, but I'm going to say least favorite part about that game because it's September baseball in a nutshell and I hate it. There were 24 pitchers used in this game. The Cardinals ran out Jack Flaherty and then 10 relievers, and then the Diamondbacks ran out Mike Leake for 6 innings, solid game by him too, and then 12 relievers. Only in September. What by comparison, if this were a non-September game or a playoff game, the Diamondbacks would have thrown out the equivalent of their entire pitching staff, 13 guys. They would have essentially thrown out their entire pitching staff, all 5 starters and all 8 relievers in this game. It's that may be part of why it took 7 hours to play because there were 22 pitching changes.
Yeah, and I mean,
That's crazy just to even say.
there were 48 strikeouts in that game too between
That's
the two
crazy.
teams.
That's
Just
crazy.
insane numbers, and it just kind of show how desperate both these teams got. The Cardinals broke out Daniel Ponce de Leon, who hasn't thrown a baseball in weeks, hasn't pitched in a game. I think in about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. They broke the glass and said, "We need somebody just to mop up the." It was the 16th or 17th inning he went out there. Then John Brebbia, of course, gave out the walk-off hit in the 19th. But I think the Cardinals lineup the entire season we've been talking about, right? We being, Cardinals Nation, have been talking about the lineup was constructed specifically for the postseason. During the regular season, there are ups and downs. Matt Carpenter can't hit in the first half of the season, and apparently in the second half either. But just all the moving parts, they've got to hit once September comes, and that's what's been happening for the most part. Cardinals they've won 7 of their last 10. I think it's 9 of their last 12, and that's because of great situational hitting. You've got Yadier Molina, who's one of the clutchest hitters I think of this century.
Hall of Famer.
Oh, easily Hall of Famer. His defense going to carry him in, but his bat's going to keep him around the league for a while longer. But then you've got Paul Goldschmidt, Paul DeYoung, Marcelo Zuna as those big bats right in the middle of the lineup who just have to be producing and have been producing as of late. Not necessarily the DeYoung as much, but...
Sorry, were you finish your statement and then were you done? Were you done talking? Sorry.
No, I was gonna clean up. And you've just got the spark plugs who come in there. Tommy Edman has had himself just a blistering second half of the season since he came up and earned himself that starting job. And then Harrison Bader, once he came back from AAA, he had a real good first week and has since leveled out, but his defense in center field has been what's kept him in the lineup.
I think he's the best defensive outfielder in baseball.
I think if he can play a full season without injuries, without getting sent down to the minors, he will win himself plenty of Gold Gloves in his career.
Didn't he win? Did he win one last year?
No.
He didn't?
He didn't play enough games.
Really? That's wow. I mean, I've seen plenty of highlights. I mean, he makes more 5-star catches than I think anybody.
Oh, yeah. He led all outfielders in defensive runs saved last year in the National League and didn't win a Gold Glove just because he didn't play the full season.
So
That's crazy.
I'm sorry. Who did you say was going to be a Hall of Famer?
Yadier Molina.
That's
Yadier
what, okay,
Molina, easy,
that's what
yeah.
I thought. I'm not so sure on that. I
Ben,
think
he's
borderline.
He is one of the 3 best, if not the best, defensive catcher of all time.
I'd say
I would put him up there with who are your 2?
It's Yadi and Pudge, 1 and 2. It doesn't. You could
Berra?
flip in.
Yachty, Pudge, and Johnny Bench.
And Berra?
Eh.
Yogi Berra.
Yogi's
None of
up
us
there,
saw
yeah.
Yogi was much more known for his hitting than
Oh, yeah.
than any of the other 3 guys. I mean, don't get me wrong. Johnny Bench was a fine hitter and Pudge was a fine hitter. But they were both much more known for their defense.
Oh, yeah.
And Yadier Molina, I mean, yeah, he had plenty of good offensive seasons in his career, but that's not what anybody's going to remember him for. Here's what he's going to be remembered for: being one of the best blocking catchers in baseball with the most accurate throwing arm of any catcher in the last 20 years. No catcher who played in the 2000s has been more accurate and fear-driving to avoid stealing bases than Yadier Molina. That sounded horrible. What I'm trying to say is that no catcher does a better job at preventing guys from even wanting to steal than Yadier Molina. I get it. His career wars, it's 40.
That's not what I'm.
Oh wow!
talking
So why
about.
not?
I think he's one of obviously the best defensive catchers of the last 20, 30 years. I think that he is a solid hitter, but I'm not sure that's good enough to get him into the Hall of Fame. What I'm saying is that he's a great defensive catcher, but he's not all-time great. He's good, but he's not. Sorry, he's great, but he's not Hall of Famer great. It's not with better hitting. I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer, but I don't think his defense is good enough to get him there alone. I can see Jacob just seething right now, but
Because I'm with him.
Okay, well,
you're wrong.
Well,
He's
so
got a platinum glove for darn near every finger on his
4.
catching hand.
okay,
4 platinum gloves, 9 gold gloves, 9-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. That's
and
got
a silver slugger.
and a silver slugger. That's right. And he's got about he's playing at least next year as well, right? Because his contract ends in 2020.
Yeah, he's playing next year.
Look up how many catchers have 2,000 hits.
Okay.
Because I can't imagine many more than Yogi, Pudge, and Johnny Bench.
okay, so
Maybe Mike Piazza too.
Yeah, we forgot about Mike Piazza.
I don't put Mike Piazza as one of the top
think
catchers
him,
of all time.
I don't think him playing for any more years is going to do him any favors because I think his defense is declining slightly. I mean,
It's still good though.
it's still good, exactly, but it's not Hall of Fame good. It's not.
What do you expect from a 36-year-old catcher, Ben?
Not a lot, but I don't think him playing any more years is doing him any favors for the Hall of Fame. I think he's a good catcher. I think he is very much a Hall of very good player, like Jimmy Rollins or Cole Hamels. But I don't think he's quite a Hall of Famer.
Neither of those guys are Hall of very good players.
Yes, they are.
Jimmy Rollins is a Hall of pretty good players.
I would maybe put Cole Hamels in there. I would not put Jimmy Rollins in there.
Really? I mean, Jimmy Rollins won like 5 straight Gold Gloves. He won an MVP.
His prime wasn't that long.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but his thing is that he was the same sort of player. He was an elite defensive shortstop who had a few really good hitting seasons and ended with and I'm sorry to bring war up, and ended with about 40 WAR. And
Except the difference is that there's a lot more shortstops who have played to that level or better than there are catchers. There are so few catchers in the history of this game who have done what Yadier Molina has been able to do for 15, 16 years that his uniqueness is going to get him into the Hall of Fame. Mind you,
I don't think he's all that unique. I think he's an incredibly good defensive catcher.
Joking.
I think
he's not unique. Listen, I love how
I think
listen,
he is
I love
one
that
of-
this playoff preview episode has turned into a Yadier Molina Hall of Fame case. But I'm
all
happy
in
to
on
I'm
it.
happy to keep this going.
Yeah, same.
Because
I think this is a good
you're-
debate.
because you're wrong.
I think he is a fantastic defensive catcher. I think that he's a great player, and I think we value him similarly. I just think that that's it. It takes more to get into the Hall of Fame.
Okay. At first, I want to bring up this one stat first. Maltzy, you brought up how many catchers have 2,000 hits. The number's 7 right now. 7 guys. It's Pudge with 2637. He's the all-time leader. Behind him, Ted Simmons, Carlton Fisk, Yogi Berra,
That's great.
Mike Piazza, Gary Carter, Johnny Bench. And then more guys who are under 2,000. Next on that list, not next up, but at 1,960 career hits, you've got Yadier Molina. If he plays 50 games, not even 50 games, if he plays 40 games,
Oh, he'll
next
get
year,
to 2,000 no problem. That's not.
he's
That's,
getting a 2,000 hits, no problem. He'll become the 8th catcher to do so. Are you telling me that's not enough offense for you?
Mind you,
it's you can play for 40 years and get 2,000 hits. It's the rate stats that I care about. It's playing for a long time and having good rate stats, and his rate stats are just sort of fair.
what are rate stats?
OPS, batting average, OBP, like stats
Batting average.
for
Yeah,
you, Multi.
very
For you,
interesting they brought
Multi.
that up.
Whoa!
But a
He's a
career-
282 lifetime hitter. That's
Yeah.
that's
Oh.
a Hall of Fame. That's a Hall of Fame batting average.
Oh,
There's guys
batting
in-
a- if
there's
Multi,
there's
if your
guys in the
number
Hall
one-
of Fame with way lower batting.
I don't
averages than
care about batting average, and I don't think the Hall of Fame
I don't
voters
care
that
that
much
you
either.
don't care. The voters do.
I don't think they do.
There's so many of those guys that are old bags from the 1970s and 80s that's what they look at.
The
I love
only stat.
hearing this. I just love watching this on the outside. But a career 282 hitter, he's a career 738 OPS. Sure, not incredible
like
numbers
90,
there.
98 OPS plus, which is very slightly below league average for OPS.
There's
but-
plenty of
career.
Hall of Famers who are below that number.
But
not a lot.
what I'm saying is
Bill Mazeroski.
he's not bad.
Ozzie Smith.
Like it it doesn't matter. Like his defense is so good that even if he were down to say like a 75 OPS plus, I think he'd still have a real good shot at getting into the Hall of Fame. At a 98, pretty much right at league average, just about.
Yeah.
His defense is by far enough to get him into the Hall of Fame, especially with just everything that he's accumulated in his career.
I don't think it is.
The Gold Gloves, the Silver Slugger, the World Series. He'll get another World Series ring before he
I
retires.
think
but-
he's the sort of guy who will stay on the ballot for 10 years and will consistently hover at 60% of votes. I'm not sure whether I would, if it was me voting for the Hall of Fame, I'm personally a small Hall guy. I think that there's way too many baseball players in the Hall. But if going off of what the Hall of Fame is, going off of, you induct 4 players a year, I think he would be on the fringe of my ballot. I think I would need some convincing to put him on. I don't think I would necessarily keep him off every year, but I think he's a fringe Hall of Fame candidate in my opinion.
Okay. Well, listen, Yadi, if you're listening, Jacob and I love you. Ben's a little apprehensive about it.
I think he's a great player. I think he's
so-
a great player. I'm not sure if he's a Hall of Fame player.
All right. Well, Yadi, you got to convince Ben that you're a Hall of Fame player. So
Yeah, I
you got to go
guess-
win an MVP next year.
I guess that's really Ben's the deciding vote, as we know.
Yeah, of course. We need to be unanimous here on fair or foul.
When have we ever been unanimous on anything?
We haven't been. I don't know.
We've been actively.
We've
divided.
been
Unanimous.
it's actively 2-1, and
And pretty much
it's almost
all
always
times.
the same 2-1.
Yeah. But Jacob, I want to ask you before we go off the Cardinals, your thoughts on Paul Goldschmidt this year? Because if I'm honest, he's had kind of a down year, and I feel like I haven't noticed, and I feel like a lot of other people hadn't noticed, and I haven't heard it talked about. I mean, he's having a good year. He's been solid, but I don't know. He's been fine, sort of like Bryce Harper. if I'm
Yeah,
honest.
I don't know, and that's been another big discussion point. Is we got Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, Cardinals fleeced the Diamondbacks in that trade. We gave up almost nothing to get Paul Goldschmidt.
You
And
gave him
well,
Carson Kelly, Luke Weaver, and a couple other guys,
It
right?
was Carson Kelly, Luke Weaver,
Andy Young.
Andy
And a
Young,
competitive
and
balance
a competitive balance pick.
Yeah,
I think
round
there
B.
might have been some money that flowed in there too, but gave up next to nothing to get Paul Goldschmidt and lock him up for 5 more years. And if this is a bad year, if to use those sabermetric stats for you, Ben, an 8
OPS is not sabermetrics.
okay, but
Come
if an
on.
822 OPS and a 114 OPS plus is a down year for Paul Goldschmidt, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, same.
He's never been lower than that. So if this
Yeah.
if this is his floor, then you guys are fine.
Yeah, I again would love to see more production out of Paul Goldschmidt. We expected more out of him. We expected him to be, this just transcendent talent for our team and to be that piece that'll put us over the edge to World Series contention. And I think the Cardinals still do have a good shot to make the World Series. Speaking as a little bit of a homer here, but 33 home runs, 95 RBIs. He's 5 RBs. He's 5 ribbies away. Yeah, I messed up.
We have.
I like.
But he's
I
5
like-
ribbies
yeah,
away
ribbies.
from being the first Cardinals hitter to hit 100 RBIs since Matt Holliday in 2013. These still are big numbers. I know, Ben, you don't care about RBIs at all, but that's what we brought him in for, and that's what we're getting out of him. The walk number is the one that I don't like, that I dislike the most.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There.
He's down to 77 walks. It's his lowest since, 2014, and it's the first season he hasn't been an All-Star since 2012. He has his lowest walk total in 6 years. A little worried about that.
Sorry, keep talking.
And granted,
I
I'd
gotta
say
stop.
overall, the Cardinals have probably faced more good pitchers in division than Goldschmidt ever had to do in the NL West, outside of the Dodgers.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But you shouldn't be dropping off by 15 walks in a season just because you go to a different division.
Yeah. So since 2015, Goldschmidt's walks have very, very steadily declined. Actually, from 15 to 16, he lost 1.4% walk rate. From 16 to 17, he lost 1.5%. From 17 to 18, he lost 1.1, and again this year he's lost 1.4%. And it just sort of, I don't know, it seems to be falling off. Eventually, he's going to be walking negative, and he's actually going to. Actually, I don't really know what a negative walk would be. A strikeout, I guess. That's boring.
No,
What would a negative walk be?
that doesn't exist.
I know, but if it has to go, if it keeps falling off by 1% every year, by the time he's like 43, he's going to be like negative 4% walk
That's
rate.
just called not taking any walks. There's no such thing as a negative.
Come
walk
on,
rate.
Molty,
It
you
can't
got to
get-
have some sort of fun here.
It can't get lower than 0. What do you mean can't have some fun?
I don't know. Come on.
But
Mr. Stat guy trying to make up some fake stats.
Yeah, exactly. Jacob, you're going to like the stat, though. His BABIP is down almost 60 points, so I'm sure he'll be due to regress upwards next year.
oh yeah,
Yeah, his career BABIP is 348,
Such
and
an
this year it's
interesting
301.
choice of words. Regress upwards.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, it's-
Regressing to the mean.
it's a clunky phrase, but I mean,
No,
Ben's
he's
using it right.
Yeah, he
is?
he's
Okay,
regressing.
I've
to-
never heard that. I've never heard it
Yeah.
used.
He'll,
I've never
he'll
heard.
reg-
I've
his
never
m-
heard regress used in such a positive
Yeah,
light.
his mean is about 350, and right now he's at 301, so he'll regress to the mean.
yeah.
That's
And
just
if
baseball.
if nothing else, his first to second half splits are what gives we Cardinals fans a little bit of hope. First half, 769 OPS. Second half, 893. His OPS plus went from 89 to 115 between the first and the second half. I feel a lot more comfortable with Paul Goldschmidt.
89 after the first half?
Yeah,
Oh my god, I had no idea it was that bad.
yeah.
I
it was-
knew like he was, I don't know, struggling a bit, but I didn't realize. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, not good first half. But his BABIP also dropped by almost 30 points between the first and second half, from 312 to 287. So again, Goldschmidt, he's been hitting a lot better second half. I think he's just going to keep getting better. And I think that series that's going on right now in Arizona has really revitalized him. Being able to see like all these fans, he hit his 100th career home run at Chase Field, the first player to do that at that ballpark specifically. He got a big standing ovation. He looks like he's having a lot more fun, at least in the last 2 days, than he's had, mostly all season.
Wait, he hit his 100th career home run there?
It was his 100th career home run at Chase Field.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So listen, the Cardinals are clearly an interesting team because they've got a great pitching staff and a lot of hitters who could be very important for them down the stretch, might not be. We won't know until we get into the playoffs. But let's depart from St. Louis and
Sadly.
let's take a look at an NL Central rival that now looks just about a lock to make a wild card, the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, I know that Milwaukee has had a ridiculous month in terms of their pitching staff. It's been absolutely insanely good in September, which is so not Brewers. And at the same time, they haven't really stopped scoring runs despite the fact that their keystone piece, Christian Yelich, was injured Did he injure himself in late August or was it in
No,
early September?
It was like
So-
September
yeah.
12th,
So-
I think.
Was it really only 2 weeks ago that he hurt
Yeah.
himself?
Yeah.
Oh dang. Well, what?
September 12th, I think. Wow.
Well,
God,
so the
that was-
Brewers have gotten white hot. They've lost 2 games since September 6th. 1, 2. Let's see if I can do the math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 71, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They're 17-2 in their last 19 games.
Yeah, love hearing multi-count. Always a good thing
Very
to hear.
good. Very good.
Proud of you. But yeah, keep going.
Elite.
No, listen, that's crazy. They're 17-2 in their last 19 games.
After
That's
losing Yelich.
yeah, sometime around. Yelich went down on September 12th. You're right about that. So they had Yelich when they started playing hot, but the craziest part is that since they lost him, they haven't stopped being hot. They've really only had one standout horrible game, and it was a 10-0 loss to the Cardinals the day after they lost Yelich. So since that game, since they lost Yelich, they are 9-1.
Yeah, and I think their one game that they lost by 1 run.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also just like to say on the topic of the Brewers, your opinion on Keston Hiura, guys?
He's a
Any
good- he's a-
opinion?
He's a good-looking young talent. I mean,
Yeah.
he's what 20. He's 22 years old. In 80 games, he's batting .298. He's got a lot of pop. I'd say the one downside with him is that his strikeout rate is a mile high. It's more than 33%, which
bad.
that's like almost Joey Gallo high.
Mhm.
So I don't like that. But so far the results have been all to the contrary. He's been good.
And if he's not your everyday starting second baseman, I mean,
Who
that's-
is
Yeah.
yeah,
I-
like
I-
he's
Travis Shaw?
he's a good starting second baseman.
I just hate his effing face. He looks like a boss I had once, and I every time I see him, I get like a little bit angry, and I really want
Does
to.
he
like
also
the
look like
Brewers.
Clayton Kershaw?
Only a little bit, but no,
He looks like him as much as Dustin May does.
He just I don't know. I have so much trouble rooting for the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers are clearly my team right now in the NL. But having Keston here on that team, it brings them down a notch or two.
Brings him down a notch.
I hate his face.
Okay. Fine.
There's nothing else to it.
That's a very subjective
I hate how he
observation
looks.
on the Brewers. You look up and down the rest of this lineup, Yasmani Grandal has probably been one of the 3 most productive catchers in baseball this season, behind probably Mitch Garver of the Twins and Real Muto on the Phillies. Eric Thames can still hit a ton of home runs. They've got Hiura. They've got Mike Moustakas, who's quietly hit 35
Should
home
have been
runs
on the
this year.
Phillies.
Okay. They have Ryan Braun, who I think because of the juiced balls this season, he has saved his career he has saved the future of his career with the season that he's currently had. And you know what? On the pitching side of things, they're getting good performances from guys at the right time. Zach Davies has been good. Jordan Lyles has been the most underrated trade deadline acquisition of this season. I still think that Drew Pomeranz is their most dark horse candidate to be that kind of guy who's going to come out of nowhere and be a superstar in the playoffs for them, because you look at his numbers, they are ridiculous. Since he was having an awful season in San Francisco.
Abominable.
And the Brewers picked him up, and since they put him in the bullpen, his fastball velocity is up at least 3 or 4 miles an hour, and he's striking guys out like Josh Hader. He's learning a thing or two from him.
Mm-hmm.
You put those 2 guys together as a 1-2 punch of left-handed relievers, might be the best 1-2 punch in the playoffs, at least of lefties.
And Multi, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but what's your opinion on Ryan Braun? Just because, like, as a kid, I don't want to say I idolized him, but he was a Jewish baseball player, so I kind of liked him. But he had the whole scandal and everything, and I think he's kind of a scummy person. But I don't know. I feel like I've sort of started to see the title of Prime Jew on WTBU to you, and I'm just curious.
Wait. What did you just say?
I don't know. Well, I mean,
I'm just confused.
So Ryan Braun.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
What? So the Jewish thing or the Ryan Braun thing?
The Jewish thing.
I don't know. I always feel like in most places I am the Jewish kid, and I'm the one who makes, like, I don't know. I'm the Jewish one.
So
You're
you're
the Jewish one here.
asking me what my thoughts are on Ryan Braun?
Yeah, because I mean, I always, as a kid, I liked him because he was Jewish.
He's had a fine career, but he's not going any. He's
Well, no, as a person.
I don't know anything about him.
Well, do you know about the whole scandal and everything?
Yeah, I know he got. I know he openly admitted to using steroids.
No, that's not the scandal.
Yeah, wasn't he juicing?
Well, he was juicing, and then he failed a test, and he blamed it on the taker for being anti-Semitic, and then he failed like 3 more tests, and then he admitted to lying about it. So people hate him for that.
Yeah, no, Ryan Brown's a scumbag. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna put that.
Yeah,
I'm sending my feelings.
I mean,
out there.
I want to like the Brewers, but then they have Keston Hiura and Ryan Braun.
Okay, except your hatred for Keston Hiura
Yeah.
is completely
Arbitrary.
It's
Arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant
It's
to
baseless.
baseball.
Yes.
Like,
It's
I just
irrelevant
hate
to
his face.
baseball.
I
Right.
have no qualms about that. I just hate his face.
Fine. Ryan, yeah, I mean Ryan Braun has had more than his fair share of a checkered past. You know, he's been clean for a few years. He's a serviceable ball player for the most part since he's come back from the suspension. He's kept his head down. He's been serviceable. I personally don't really have any opinions on him because I wasn't all that well versed on this scandal because I was 12 years old when it came out. I couldn't have really appreciated how serious what he did and what he said was. So I don't want to say I don't care because obviously I do. That's why we're here doing this podcast. But I don't really know. I have no thoughts on it
Yeah.
or him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of switching the topic. I just don't like talking about Ryan Braun. But the other corner of that outfield, Trent Grisham, who's like filled in for Christian Yelich since
He's been
out.
solid.
He's been good. He's had his OPS has been at or near 1,000 in the past 15 games, and he's having a real solid just stretch.
Yeah,
since,
for sure. I love him because he was the Brewers' first round draft pick in 2015. They drafted him out of high school, so it's going to be a little bit of time. But now he's here. He's 22, and so far this is not a bad showing for your first 40, 50 games in the big leagues. If this is a preview of how if he can be this solid, then I would think at 22 there's only room to get better, and especially. Is he who shall not be named in this episode a free agent at the end of the season?
He will be. He's probably going to get non-tendered.
Yeah, he probably. So if Braun goes, then Trent Grisham is probably your starting left fielder next season with Locane in center and Yelich again. So
That's a solid outfield.
that's a stacked outfield.
Although Locane has had a serious down year hitting wise.
yeah, I mean he hasn't. But he's been horrible
And
offensively.
also,
this season, but-
may I mention his first year ever. I mean, I guess other than like 2009 without a triple.
Oh,
And no
I
triples
didn't
this
realize
year.
it was that serious. But
Yeah,
again, I
it's
mean,
not that serious.
But I'd say the one thing that surprised me the most about the Brewers, though, is according to MLB.com, their expected win-loss this season was 79 and 78 up to this point. They've got
And they were below 500 for quite some time.
they were below 500 for a while. Their run differential just now, as of last night, got back to 0. So they're even on that front. But that 8-game difference between their actual record at 87 and 70 and their expected win-loss, the biggest of any team in baseball, positive or negative. And then right behind them in the standings, who are going to get eliminated from wildcard contention today, the Cubs have a 7-game negative difference from their expected win-loss record of 89 and 68 to 82 and 75, where they actually are, is the second biggest gap there.
I also think that's going to be especially I wouldn't say it's damning for Joe Madden, but I don't think it's going to be good for his case to get rehired
no.
by the Cubs.
Oh, he's not getting rehired by the Cubs. And honestly,
way.
the way he's kind of, I don't necessarily think you can put all the blame on him, but just, I guess, because he's the manager, he will take on a significant amount of it.
Just like the Phillies
The
and
way
Jim
he's,
Kapler.
the way in September he has been at the helm as this team has shot themselves in the foot, game after game. They've lost 6 straight. They got swept it was a sweep, right?
That was a
Or
4-game sweep.
They got swept by the Cardinals in a 4-game series at home. You cannot let that happen. The Cubs are, despite that 4-game sweep, they still have a 51-30 record at home, which means that it was significantly better when that series started. And if you're that good at home, you cannot let an opponent as fierce of a rival as the Cardinals, that's got to get the adrenaline pumping. If you're the Cubs, you got to be driven and passionate about beating the Cardinals on your turf, and you lay 4 goose eggs, 4 L's, 4 losses. It's disgraceful.
First time in 98 years that the Cardinals had a 4-game sweep at Wrigley.
I remember seeing that stat.
That's
Ridiculous. And the Cubs, against teams above 500 this year, that dropped them down to 37 and 44. They don't deserve to be in the postseason if they're playing like that against good teams.
exactly. And if I am to, I know we don't want to give the Brewers any more credit than we absolutely have to, but we have to recognize that They have the best record against above 500 clubs in that division. They're better than St. Louis.
Yeah.
St. Louis is 41-39. Milwaukee is 48-40. That's a great record against winning teams.
Yeah, I think even without Christian Yelich, I think the Brewers still have a good shot. I mean, sucks that they're going to have to play the Nationals in the wild card game.
Definitely.
I mean, it's just unfortunate for them going against any one of the starters from the Nationals, whoever they throw out number one, whether it's Corbin, Strasburg, Scherzer.
Probably gonna be Scherzer.
Martinez said it's going to be Scherzer,
It's going to be Scherzer.
which
Yeah,
I think is a wrong choice. But
Really? What do you think is the right choice?
well, on that note, let's take a look at the Nats.
Yeah, might as well.
We've got two teams in the NL East making the playoffs right now. The Nationals clinched a wild card. They're guaranteed one of them. We don't know if they're going to host yet. We'll see that in the next few days. But right now, we know they're in the playoffs. And as we know, the Nationals have two really strong trios going for them into the playoffs. Offensively, they're big trio. They've got the speedster Trey Turner, great leadoff hitter, and then, of course, Anthony Rendon and Juan Soto. Those two guys have carried the lineup this season. Honorable mention to the ageless Howie Kendrick, who's hitting .344 as a utility player for them. But the main three for me are Turner, Rendon, and Soto. Then you go to the rotation, where they've got an equally intimidating trio, Steven Strasburg, who's been fully healthy for the first time in years, Patrick Corbin, who I'm sad to say has actually been worth every penny that the Nationals paid him this year.
I hate that.
And Max Scherzer, who, despite his injury, is still Max Scherzer. He's still the most aggressive, passionate competitor of a pitcher in all of baseball.
By the way, Steven Strasburg going to be a free agent at season's end. People sort of forget about that, but he is a team option this year. I mean, he could be
if it's
signed.
a team option, the Nationals are going to pick it.
Sorry, player option. That's my
Okay.
bad. Player option at the end of this year. And he over the next. That can't be right. That's really weird. Okay, so apparently next year he's getting $25 million. Year after that is 15, and then $45 million. But
He's also making $45 this year. His contract structure.
38 this year.
38 this year, but he's the highest paid player in baseball this year.
Just this year, though. Really weird.
is weird.
But basically, what's the AAV of that? Most of you are good. That's like $25 million.
It's 25,
right?
yeah.
25 million.
7 and
something like-
175. That's about 25.
Yeah, but so I see him opting out, trying to get a longer term deal, and I
He'll
think
never
he's gonna
get it.
Really?
He'll never get it.
You never get what?
He'll never get a long-term deal from somebody.
I know,
He's a 31-year-old starting pitcher who's had his fair share of injuries.
He'll get.
That's a recipe with the way the free agent market has moved in the last 2 years. That's a recipe for disaster.
I think that he could get 4 or 5 years from someone better than 24. I think you could get a Patrick Corbin type deal.
I think.
Corbin got 6 years.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get any more than maybe 3 or 4.
Never.
I don't think
No
he's gonna get.
no smart team, and teams have been shockingly smart with this in the last few years. No smart team would give him more than 4 years.
I'd say maybe the Padres might pick him up on a 4-year deal.
Maybe.
A team like that.
But they're already stuck with Manny Machado and Eric Hosmer. Do they really want a third
But yeah, they're not
massive
gonna.
deal on there?
Do they really
they
want
don't
a
have that-
third egg? I don't know. I just like
Yeah,
that.
they're not gonna do that.
Wanting
But a
multi-
team
Stra-
like them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, I like Steven Strasburg because I think the Nationals should start him in the wild card game. In the very few times we've got to see Steven Strasburg pitch in the playoffs, he has been really, really good. In 2017, when the Nationals played the Cubs, he was better than Scherzer in that division series, and he has been their best and healthiest starter all season. To be honest, whether you're a baseball fan or a Nationals fan, you'd probably never think you'd say this, but Max Scherzer, out of those three, Strasburg, Corbin, Scherzer, he'd be my third candidate to start this
Are you
wild card
kidding?
game. Absolutely.
Why?
Because he's got a 4.5 ERA since he's come back off the IL. He's not quite the same, and he has openly admitted that he might not be his usual unhittable self again this season until he spends the offseason completely rehabbing. And because of that, because it's a do-or-die playoff game, I don't want to run the risk of the bad Max Scherzer showing up. Corbin and Strasburg have been the epitome of consistency, consistently really good this season. I want to start one of them over Scherzer.
Between Corbin and Strasburg, who would you start?
That depends on who they're facing. If they're well, actually, that's not true. We know it's the Brewers. What am I saying? I would probably say I would want Corbin, because if it's Strasburg, then the Brewers are going to start every power-hitting left-hander that they have. And at least if Corbin starts, they'll have to start a lot more. They may still start the lefties, but they'll probably struggle a lot more hitting Corbin's slider, and they may have to start a few righties off the bench who aren't as good. Like, I'm just imagining it now. I'm imagining that if Strasburg or Scherzer starts this game, that Moustakas, Grisham, probably Travis Shaw because he's a lefty power hitter, Thames, and Grandal, who's way better of a power hitter from the left side. All those guys going up against you, neutralized with a lefty like Corbin.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, so I guess there's your answer to my question. I would start Patrick Corbin in this wild card game.
I'd say it's not even as deep as trying to neutralize the other lineup. I mean, I start Patrick Corbin just because I know what I'm going to get from him. Steven Strasburg, not quite to the same effect as Clayton Kershaw, but you never really know what you're going to get at a Strasburg start to start, especially in the postseason.
You're right.
I'm going with Patrick Corbin. He's been arguably their most consistent pitcher this season. He's got a 151 ERA plus. That's
that's better than that's better than Strasburg and only slightly worse than Scherzer in 20 more innings.
Yeah, I mean, really the only place where Scherzer has them both definitively beat out is FIP. And
But that's skewed because before he got hurt, he was a universe better than both of them. And but since then, he hasn't been good. Oh, okay, that's wrong. He has had good.
Fine.
He has had good games, but he has not been Max Scherzer since
he's been fine since he's come back. You know what? I actually just want to take a quick look at what his game log looks like since then. And he hasn't gone longer. Yeah, his longest start is 6.2 innings, and in that start, he got 5 runs.
That's plenty.
And he's
6 2/3 is plenty.
Yeah, but he's had one. Had one really quality. Oh, sorry there. He's had one really quality start since he's come back.
Listen, I think I said 6 2/3 innings is enough, but with this Nationals bullpen, that's probably not true. You want to get at least 7 innings out of one of your guys, and probably you can get that best from Strasburg or Corbin. They've been workhorses. Corbin has been the most underratedly consistent starter in the majors the last 2 seasons. Nobody's been more consistently really good than him. Not elite, but really, really good.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think if it comes down to it, Milwaukee has the bullpen advantage over Washington.
Well, Washington has a joke of a bullpen.
Washington, I hot take here, but I think the Washington Nationals have the worst bullpen of any of the 10 playoff teams.
Oh,
not even a hot take.
Is that controversial? I mean, I didn't think it was.
The only
they don't have a reliever with an ERA under 4.
The only team that might have a worse bullpen, and I don't want to factor them because as of now they're not in the playoffs, is the Cleveland Indians. If Cleveland makes it, their bullpen is just as shaky as Washington's. But right now I'm going to stick with Washington. Let's stay in the NL East. And we're coming up around nearing the end of this episode, so maybe
let's just stick to the NL.
We might have to make this. We might have to make this a 2-parter, and then our next episode we'll do this for the American League.
Yeah,
because I'm sure that when we get to the American League, we'll be talking for 20 minutes about the Hall of Fame candidacy of somebody in the AL.
Somebody like Brad Hand, Corey Kluber, CC Sabathia is a good one.
No, it's not a good one because he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, he's a shoo-in, but I feel like Ben would think he's not.
Okay, let's save this for our next episode because as much as Jacob was rallying for Yadi, I am going to rally for CC in the next episode, so stay tuned for that. But let's real quick break down the Atlanta Braves, and then we'll see if anybody else has got anything they've got to get off their chest before we close out this second episode of Season 2. I love the Atlanta Braves. I said it earlier on in the episode, and I truly do mean it. Phillies fan, be quiet.
I didn't like that.
I don't like that at all. No, that's no bueno. The Atlanta Braves are a really freaking scary ball club.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
I said this before I was so rudely interrupted by those sound effects, that they are my National League team. I think that if the Braves play their cards right, they can beat the Dodgers. They can definitely outslug the Cardinals, and I think they might be able to pitch their way past them. But who knows? That's one of the things I love most about baseball. I'm picking the Braves, but they've got just about as much of a chance to make it as any of the other teams.
Yeah, I think the Braves have a very good team, but I think that's what they are. They're a very good team. They're not a great team. I don't think they'll. I think that they will make the NLCS, and I think they'll take the Dodgers to 6 or 7. But I don't think they match up quite as well as. I just don't think they match up as well as the Dodgers. I think they're a very good team. I don't think they're great.
Well, I may have also
just said that they're great. they're comparatively to the Phillies, they're great. Comparatively to the Dodgers, Yankees, and Astros, they're
not-
very good.
Yeah, they are not. They may not be quite on. They're not as well rounded of a team as those three you just mentioned are. The Yankees, Astros, and Dodgers are the three biggest heavyweights in this postseason, without a doubt. Except for one dark horse team in the AL, which we didn't get to talk about, but I'll keep that suspense in mind.
I don't think they're a
for
heavyweight, though, sadly.
Okay, hold on.
You don't think the Braves are a heavyweight?
You don't think the Braves or
No,
the
no.
team?
Well,
that
I
I'm-
don't think
or
I don't
team-
think the Braves are a heavyweight, and I don't think the team you're talking about, Multi, are a heavyweight either.
Okay, well, here's why I think the Braves are. Because look at this lineup and the amount of talent in this lineup. You have Freddie Freeman, who is probably one of the best middle-of-the-lineup hitters in baseball. He's he's well on his way to a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
He's
I hate facing Freddie Freeman.
because he's so good. He's got a unique swing that allows him to just dominate against
he
lefties
lifts
and
so hard. Like, it's
lefties
just-
and righties. And you have Ozzie Albies, and I remember last year when the season was over, especially for the playoffs, I wasn't that high on Ozzie Albies because he had a great first half and completely faded out in the second half. And this year he's been consistent, batting .300. He's hitting homers, triples, doubles, scoring runs, doing all that jazz. Josh Donaldson is the NL Comeback Player of the Year. Who could have ever thought that he would return to such a good form?
I thought
You did.
I thought from the day he was signed by the Braves, I was angry that the Phillies didn't give him that deal.
I was mad the Cardinals didn't give him that deal.
I thought
I know.
that was
thought for-
obvious.
Everyone thought for sure he was going to the Cardinals.
Of course he was going to go to the
Yeah,
Cardinals.
if the Phillies had Josh Donaldson instead of Michael effing Franco, I want Josh Donaldson.
Not
He's
having
a really good player.
See, but not having Josh Donaldson is not the reason why the Phillies are going to finish possibly under 500 this year. But beyond those guys, you've also got Dansby Swanson, who's okay. You've got the veteran catching duo of Brian McCann and Tyler Flowers. They're also okay. And then of course, also Nick Markakis, another guy who's also
Matt Joyce,
who's
by the
also
way.
good. Wow, I didn't even know Matt Joyce was having this good of a season. He's batting .295 with an OPS in the mid-8s.
Yeah,
and then, of
and
course,
he's starting every game now as
and
well.
of course, the one and only 21-year-old superstar, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah.
He's almost had a 40-40 season at age 21. He's ridiculous. The biggest problem for the Braves, and it's the same problem that a lot of teams are facing, it's their pitching. Hitting is not going to be a problem for any team this postseason. Every team will be at least good at hitting. That's the benchmark. Every team is good or better at hitting, but a lot of teams don't necessarily have a really reliable pitching staff. And Atlanta's, as good as it can be, there's a lot of question marks in there.
I mean,
a lot of question marks.
Mike Soroka is obviously a good pitcher.
But he's never pitched in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's going to probably finish second or third in Rookie of the Year behind Alonso and Tatis. Tehran is Julio Tehran. Who knows what you're going to get from him? Max Fried is a mediocre pitcher. Who knows if he's good or not? I don't
He's
know
not
if he's
mediocre, but I don't think he's mediocre, but he's in the same position as Soroka. He's never pitched in the playoffs.
Well, I just think he's not very good.
He's
not-
got
a
he's
very
got-
fine pitcher.
He's got great stuff. That's why I think.
Yeah, but
No,
his stats don't show it. He's a fine pitcher.
It's not always about the stats. I mean, the eye test, you can tell.
he's got a good fastball
guy,
and
yeah.
a great curveball. He's got a Clayton Kershaw curveball.
Okay, but I mean it hasn't shown.
Give him a
Keuchel,
chance. He's a rookie too. Don't
I,
forget that.
but I think the rotation for the playoffs is going to be something like this. It's going to be Soroka, Keuchel, Tehran, and Fried. I think.
Soroka's not their game one starter. I'm sorry.
Who do you think? I guess Keuchel then.
Absolutely. I don't trust a rookie to start game one of the postseason for me.
Yeah, ever since Rick
Unless
Ankiel
Unless you're Dwight Gooden.
or Rick
I'd
Ankiel.
say, yeah. I'm like, they're a short list of rookies.
rookies.
Yeah, but did you guys know? Do you guys know the Rick Ankiel story?
Who doesn't?
Of course,
He played for the Cardinals.
Of course
Oh,
I know the
right.
Rick Ankiel
Oh,
story.
Yeah, okay. If anybody doesn't know, here's the short version. Rick Ankiel was a rookie for the Cardinals back in 2000. Was it 2000 or 2000? It was 2000. 2000. He was a great up-and-coming lefty. He had great stuff. And in the playoffs, he had a complete breakdown. In his first postseason start against the Atlanta Braves, he uncorked 5 wild
I think it
pitches.
was 8 actually.
He
It
uncorked
was a lot.
He let loose a lot of wild pitches. His command went completely out the door, and in his following playoff starts, he couldn't get it back, and he laid a goose egg. He was out of baseball for 7 years, so he came back as an
He
outfielder.
actually said that when he was throwing pitches, he would have a minor blackout. Like he couldn't remember what he was doing. Like when he started, like when he would look back on it, his memory just like his brain shorted out.
But it's just such a sad story.
It's a very
Yeah.
sad story.
But he came
best
back, though.
curveball
he had a great.
ever.
He came back as a good hitter, though.
Okay.
He came back as a good fielder. Yeah.
And he had
Great fielder, good hitter.
I still testify that he has the most accurate left-handed outfield throwing arm, the scariest left-handed outfield throwing arm of all
Ichiro?
time. Ichiro throws right-handed.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Ichiro
does.
Ichiro threw right-handed.
Yeah.
But the moral of the story is that rookies don't always really never start game ones. So that right there is a breakdown of your National League playoff teams. Tune into our next episode when we are going to do the same with the American League teams. And all told, 2 episodes from now, we'll be talking a lot about the playoffs. And hopefully by then it'll be pretty clear who the World Series favorites are, and we can spend a lot of time doing a deep dive into them. The next 2 episodes, maybe even 3, are going to be all about the playoffs, so we hope that you'll join along with us for the ride. For Ben Silver and Jacob Lintner, I'm Daniel Maltz. Thank you so much for listening in to Episode 2 of Season 2 of Fair or Foul, and we hope to catch you at Episode 3 sometime soon. We'll see you then.